starting to feel like Formula One is I don't understand the rules.
The greatest Formula One champion of all time.
And Formula One is that it's like a traveling
circus of Spain
and adrenaline.
Except I am from Formula.
People know NASCAR, but people don't, because Formula One is like, it's a whole different thing.
Box and pick confirm, and welcome to the Redefined F1 show, the show where we put American subtitles on Formula One. I'm just...
Keep going.
Wait, let me reset. Okay. Box and pick confirm, and welcome to the Redefined F1 show, the show where we put American subtitles in the sport of Formula One. I'm your host, Frederick Kernigan. With me, as always, my co-host, Michael Zimmerman, aka Timmy.
What's so funny? How's it going, everyone?
If you couldn't, for our audio-only listeners, you can't see our faces, but you can probably tell by our voices, we may be under the influence. That's because today we're coming at you guys with a very fun and semi-interactive episode. But yeah, we're here to get drunk off of some really hot takes on the Formula One Twitterverse. So the way this game's gonna work, I have 10 hot takes off of Formula One Twitter. Okay, I'm gonna read the tweet, and Timmy and I are gonna drink accordingly. The hotter the take, the bigger the drink. Mind you, Timmy and myself are 2 drinks deep. We just watched a very interesting UFC card that had upsets and blood rubbing for some odd reason. Yeah,
that's
but
an odd way to put it.
Co-main event was a real odd fight, but once again, neither here or there. I'm gonna read 10 tweets, and the hotter the take, the longer the drink. So, if we have 10 extremely scalding takes, then we're going to be extremely drunk at the end of this episode. But the plan is for this to be on the shorter end of things. So before I start off, Timmy, anything to say?
Anything to say? I say we rank it on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being ice cold in the Atlantic, 10 being Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith kind of hot take level. And then depending on that, we drink as we say.
I agree. So before we begin, cheers, Timmy.
Cheers. I think we should phase this out for
it's
you.
It's okay. Editing, baby.
Cheers.
I don't know what Timmy's drinking, but I'm drinking something that rhymes with sin and goose.
I am drinking something that rhymes with or I'm drinking something that's an order. You just add a P to the beginning, and then a porter.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Before Timmy confuses us some more, we're gonna jump right into it.
Literally reading off the can.
with our first hot take of the episode. This has to do with our favorite daddy's boy from @StrollIsKing, so you can see where this is going. Lance Stroll is underrated. People don't like him because he's got daddy's money, but as a driver, he is better than Gasly.
That is a spicy take. Oh my!
Now I read this as a tweet of two things. I do think he gets a lot of hate because he's his dad's son. Right, he's got a forever seat in F1 because that'd be a real awkward conversation at dinner. Be like, Dad, you cut me from the team, but yeah, your ass. So that is true. But better than Gasly. That last part of the tweet, I'm gonna give specifically that's a 7. That's a hot take.
That is a very spicy take. Yeah, I agree with you, 100%. Is he hated on more than he should be because of his dad? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is he better than Gasly? In my opinion, no. It might be close, but I think Gasly is like a tier above him.
I think Gasly is the more all-around driver, Whereas Stroll, when like the weather takes a crazy left turn, Stroll's there. He's proven that in prior seasons, but as an overall driver, I'm taking Gasly if I had to choose the lesser of two evils.
If I was starting a team and my two drivers that were offered to me were Lance and Gasly, I feel like 90% of people are taking Gasly.
Yeah. So I'm giving
a
that a 7.
spicy take for the first take. So cheers to that. I agree, 7 out of 10.
All right. Second tweet. Danny Rick will be recharged after the summer break and outpace/outperform Norris in 7 of the 9 remaining races. This is by @RussFlynn_.
That's a 10. That's a 10. What? What? That man has been watching too much Drive to Survive and the hype that they bring Daniel Ricciardo. That's an insane take. That's not a hot take. That's not a spicy take. That's a crazy take.
He's this is once again a tweet of two halves. I think the first half is true. I think he will become like off the summer break, come recharged. But 7 out of 9 races outperforming Norris.
Lando?
Yeah, no, you're smoking the dope.
Whatever
So
you got, I want.
that's a 9. That's a 9 for sure.
That's a
So
10 for me.
at
7
Russ
out of
Flynn,
9.
cheers.
Cheers.
I'm gonna need a refill by half episode.
I'm gonna need a new drink by take 4.
Take number 3. This is by at Naomi Gotts. That's her actual username, but
That's
the
what
ad
we're
name
going
is
with.
too confusing. She says Carlos Sainz will outscore Charles Leclerc in the second half of the season. How we feeling?
You
How we
know
feeling?
what?
How we feeling on this one, Timmy?
I need
He's
to
doing
digest. I need to digest and process it. This might be an accurate take. I'm not gonna lie.
so. But to let you think, I will say this: out of the 3 that we've had so far, this has the biggest chance of being like coming true.
This is the most like kind of level-headed
Yeah.
take.
So
Will it come true? I don't think so.
I think in terms of like if we're looking at it compared to the last 2, this is a pretty cold take. But in terms of like reality, I still think this is a little bit of a reach. I'm not gonna lie, you're getting called on a reach-in for this one. I think this is like a 6. I would say the saying Stroll is better than Gasly is a bit more of a hot take, but this one is for sure. I say this real unconfidently though, because Ferrari's kind of a mess. I'm not gonna lie.
Ferrari is a mess, but they're still gonna favor Charles over Carlos.
That's what makes me hold out. I agree.
I believe this is a mid take. I'm going 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree. So at Naomi Gotts,
I appreciate the take. It might come true.
might come true.
Odds are it won't. So 5 out of 10.
Keeping with the Charles theme.
Oh, I love
Our
it.
4th take is from @Russell63 Merck. Charles Leclerc will join Mercedes when Lewis retires.
Ooh. So Charles is under a Ferrari contract for the
Right.
next 2 years, if
Let
I'm
me
correct.
check.
Let's check that out.
Charles Leclerc is on contract with Ferrari till 2026.
2026. So for the next 4 years, so the next 3 seasons of F1,
Right.
he'll be under contract.
This comes down more to how long
It's
we
the
think.
timing.
Yeah.
I feel like personally, because like when Lewis retires and that empty seat's available, if Charles is if he's in that contract year where he can switch teams, it's more likely. But if Lewis retires,
Right.
say like in the next year or
Two,
two,
yeah.
and he's like he's gonna be with Ferrari for the next 2-3 years, then he's not gonna switch teams. So
Right.
it comes down to timing. But I'm a fan of this take, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like
as a Charles, like, so Emily, my girlfriend, she's a Charles fan, huge Charles fan, and the only time that would make me genuinely scared of Charles is if he's partnered up with a competent team principal. Yeah, because
a target on everyone's back
yeah,
next year.
because Charles, with the help of Doc Ock, Matteo Bonato, that
Not Doc Ock.
not Doc Ock, but that combination makes me as scared as like a really good quarterback and a dog shit coach. I'm like scared that he might just, will his team. But other than that, I'm kind of like, we'll
It's
just
like
wait and watch it happen.
it's like if Tom Brady was partnered with Matt Nagy. Like, you're scared of the quarterback, but the coaching and the play calling, you are not
Right.
whatsoever.
But as a take goes, I think it's not a hot take. I just think it depends on future. See how things shake out. Because what if in 2 years Mercedes isn't Mercedes anymore, which would
True.
be the craziest, like a pretty big storyline. But then also, like, what if, like how we're talking about, Lewis retires earlier than expected? So as far as hot takes, purely off of the fact that there's too many variables to play into it, I'm gonna give it like a 3.
Honestly, like just hot take perspective, it's a pretty spicy take. Like you're saying Charles moves from Ferrari to
Well,
Mercedes.
in the sport
That's
of Formula One, drivers, like, they move eventually. Like, eventually they move, whether they retire and they come back or they just switch teams. Like, any driver that you think of having, like, oh, that was their team, they have another team after that. Like, Michael Schumacher is known as the Ferrari legend. He drove for Mercedes at the end of his career.
true.
You
That
know,
is true.
Lewis Hamilton, this is kind of going reverse, but he was like McLaren's like little baby boy, and now he's like Mercedes legend. So
But I think what adds spice to the take is Charles is replacing Lewis.
right,
So it'll be Charles and George as the two Mercedes
that'd
drivers.
be spice. That'd be real
That would be
spice.
real
That'd be real
spicy.
spice.
So that's why I'm like, it's not hot, but it has
Yeah.
some spice to it.
If it were to come true, it would have a bunch of boxes checked for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. But so I'm going with the casual. I'll go with the 4 out of 10.
And with that, Russell 63 Merc, that's a quick sip. So
That's a cheers, Russell.
halfway. Horner is the best team principal on the grid. Now, as a Red Bull fan, I will let you go first because I have my reservations about this one, if we're being honest.
That's tough because I think realistically, Horner only has one competition when it comes to team principal, and that's Toto.
Mm-hmm.
And Toto, he's been with Mercedes. I want to say he took over Mercedes racing team or F1 team for the past.
He was there before the dominance, so he's
before the dominance.
Yeah,
but Mercedes was already like on the rising up when he took over.
Kinda. Let me double check this though. But continue with your take.
I don't agree with it. So that's why it adds a little spiciness to it.
2013, so he's going, this is year 9 for him, I think. Or year 10.
So he was the year before they started their dominance.
You're right.
Okay. So initially, my thought is Toto's still number 1. I mean, and you can look at it this year. Like, if you vacuum only look at this year, preseason's a mess. the first handful of races are a mess for Lewis. George Russell, he does his thing. He gets top 5 finishes. What
have you.
I'm not trying to push that aside, but like you got to think about like Lewis Hamilton, defending 7-time champion. His car is a wreck. He's not performing well. So you think as Mercedes as a whole is a wreck. We're halfway through the season and they are on the rise. You're like, oh, Mercedes might make possibly for constructors, possibly might make a push.
Right.
Drivers, I think Max is gonna win that regardless. So with that in mind, I think like Toto starting a terrible start. You can blame him for it, whatever. But the fact that he's able to recover from that and make at least finish podium, because I don't think McLaren or Alpine is going to overtake Mercedes in the constructors.
I agree.
So he's still going to get a podium finish in the constructors championship, if not second or first. It's hard to say that Christian Horner, who has Max Verstappen, the hottest, fastest driver on the grid, with the best car, arguably, it's hard to say that he's better than Toto, but I think time will tell which one is better. But as of right now, for that take, it's a spicy take because I think Toto is better.
I think, and I'm gonna try not to let my Red Bull bias in, but I think it's a pretty lukewarm to cooling down water type take, because one of two things. I think there isn't a clear best team principal. I think there's 1A, 1B, Toto, Christian, and then you have it's more of a challenge for who's second. Because then when it comes to the team principals, it's kind of like, who do you want? Because you have Toto, the ice cold businessman type, the Bill Belichick, the no nonsense. I'm going to work with my guy and, just kind of like talk him through it type coach or team principal. And then you have Christian Horner, who he's really about it. Like, if you really paid attention to the 2021 season, Toto was like kind of a supporter of Lewis, like his number one supporter, whereas Christian was like, he was going to war for, like, he wasn't like trying to just defend him, he was attacking the point, if that makes any sense. And so it's kind of like, what kind of coach would you rather have? Would you rather have a coach like Toto Wolff, who's gonna just be ice cold and like go about his business, and you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna follow by example? Or are you gonna have that fiery leader who's basically like an ex-player? Like, I don't know, for those of you who watch Hard Knocks, it's kind of like having Dan Campbell versus Bill Belichick. Would you rather have a guy who's gonna rah and get you like I'll run through a wall for this man, or is Toto Wolff, he's like, yeah, this is a bad dude, I'm gonna follow him into war? So it's kind of off of that, but I see what you're saying. Like, Toto has willed, or like just kept the boat steady as like, the early season woes was happening.
Yeah.
Whereas Christian Horner kind of was like, he takes everything in stride. And if I was a driver, I'd honestly want someone as toxic as Christian Horner as my team principal, because it makes it easier for me to be semi toxic, because I'd be like, yeah, XYZ. And I know my team principal is going to go off the wire and say some off the cuff stuff. And I'll be like, see you in a private room, I'm gonna dap you up, Christian, because I totally agree. But yeah, no, Christian, I think it's 1A, 1B. So I'm gonna go with this at like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, like I agree with that. Like Toto versus Christian is a 1A, 1B. Like if we were doing a fantasy draft, the first round pick or the first overall pick is gonna be one or the other, and the second overall pick is gonna be one,
right?
Obviously the other one. I think a better American comparison would be Bill Belichick with Toto, and then Andy Reid for Christian Horner. I know he's not one to like. I know he's not one to be like fighting the media and shit, but I feel like behind the scenes, he's definitely like in Patrick's ear, like, you're the best quarterback in this league. No.
Okay. When you put it like that, I get you.
Like no, like to the media, to the people, he's like not like that. But I'm saying like behind the scenes, to his players, to his coaching staff, to Patrick Mahomes specifically, he's like, I don't care what anyone's saying. You're better than everyone else. And you're
Right.
gonna go out and perform. Just throw it to Travis Kelce and we're gonna win this game. We're gonna beat the Chargers.
No. This is
I
what
don't
we
care how much Derwin James is making. We're gonna beat them.
That's all we pay him for is to stop Travis Kelce.
But yes, after your points, I do decrease the hotness of this take.
Yeah. So
I'm about a 5 or 4.
So at Max Wallace 8, this is a slight cheers to you.
Cheers.
I'm in the range of a real spicy take finishes the drink here. So.
I am as well. Hopefully this next one finishes it for me.
Norris will leave McLaren earlier than his contract expires. This is by at Blue Lays 1.
Norris will leave McLaren before his contract expires.
I think this has some validity.
He's under contract for like
until 2025. So
3 years.
Yeah, 3.
Okay. Way less than I thought.
I think this is a hot take.
No, wait. This could apply because 2025 his McLaren contract expires. Does this take apply to if he extends past 25 with McLaren?
Well, I think he's just saying that he's going to leave. So do you think he's going to leave?
So he's going to leave before 2025.
Right.
Okay, that's the take.
I think this is
pretty spicy. That's a spicy take.
I think this is a reach, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is like a 7 out of 10 take because I expect McLaren or Norris to finish his McLaren contract.
Right. Or I'll let you finish before I
don't. The only reason why I'd see him leave is if Lewis retires and he's the one to take Mercedes seat because I don't see him taking the second seat of Red Bull. I don't see him making a lateral move to Alpine, and he's not going to take Aston Martin or AlphaTauri or Alfa Romeo's kind of seat.
Right, that'd be going backwards.
Yeah, exactly. So the only possible move up, quote unquote, because you never know year to year with F1, is to go to Mercedes.
Right.
And that's if Lewis retires before 2025, and that happening, it's still up in the air because Fernando Alonso is still racing at 40, and he's still performing.
That man's built different.
Half the grid. So if he's doing it, you imagine a 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton will still do it, but
he might give it a thought, right?
There's so much different variables that go into it. It's like, is his heart into it? If he's willing to do it, the sacrifices that he has to make for a season, blah, 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 blah. So it comes down to if Lewis retires. Does Lewis retire within the next 3 years? Personally, I hope not. I hope he's still racing.
Right.
2025.
Same sentiment.
So this take, it's a little spicy because I don't see it happening. So
I think I'd agree. I think this is
a spicy take.
Not the spiciest take that we've had so far.
A 6 out of 10.
I'm actually going to give it a 7 because I think Lando's contract is almost perfect.
Ooh.
Because
okay.
Because McLaren has until 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The engine remodel comes in 2026. Right? Lando Norris is super young. His contract is almost perfect, and the fact that he gets to stay in a team that he knows is going to be competitive for the most part. I'm not saying they're going to win or become a contender, but he's not going to, like you said, AlphaTauri. He's not going to Aston Martin. He's not going to Alfa Romeo. If he does move, it'll be a side to side or up move. So I personally think this is a spicy take. I think he stays with McLaren until the end, then takes a whole evaluation of the whole grid. Because what if 2025 McLaren is, poo-poo dog water? He's going to be like, I want out of here. But what happened to 2025? He's not, So in terms of him leaving early and just leaving in general, think that's a bit of a reach. So I'm gonna rate this a 6. 6.5.
All right. So we're both at, well, I'm at a 6. You're a 6.5.
Right.
So cheers to
Blues Lay 1.
cheers for the spicy take.
Take number 7. This is from @Natox_live. Charles Leclerc will leave Ferrari in the next 2 years.
So this is a spicy take. So he's breaking his contract 2 years before it expires with Ferrari. So yeah, I'd give it a 7. I'd say that's a pretty spicy take.
I'd agree. To break his contract with the team that he's been grinding for, his dream team.
Grew up with.
Yeah,
too.
I think this has to be some catastrophic like Ferrari really has to fumble the bag for this one to come true. So I would agree. I think this is about a 7.
Yeah.
It's like spice levels. I think for Charles to go as far as to break his contract with the team that he's grown up and loved and have like
From Monaco, that's like Ferrari's like the team that he grew up watching and loving.
Right.
And now he's racing for that team to be like for 2 years before his contract's over to be like, I'm done with you. You're incompetent is enough. I'm tired of the memes. I'm tired of the stupidity that's
Right.
going on here. It's like, yeah, that's a 7 out of 10 for me.
I think it's also 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. All
Purely
right,
off
so-
just because he's not. I don't think he's breaking the contract. So
No, I don't think so either.
So
Cheers to
at Natox, here you go.
the talks. Cheers to you.
This one's an American, like a little bit of American in it. Logan Sargent racing for Williams wouldn't increase support for F1 in America for longer than a handful of races, as Americans only care about winners and not the people just aiming for top 10.
I mean, honestly, I agree with it. Americans, we're about winners.
We don't, yeah.
If you ain't winning, we do not care. The only time F1 was on ESPN was because it was in Miami and we had celebrities, American celebrities there. Since then, F1 has not appeared on ESPN at all. They don't talk about it, they don't mention it, they don't care about it.
Right.
So, unless it's you have an American driver winning, Americans aren't gonna care.
I
Cold
think
take. It's honest, it's respectable, but for hot takes wise, cold as ice.
I don't think it's cold as ice. I think so. Just like the first few tweets, it has validity, but it has like 80% validity because, like you said, Americans only care about winners. And so I feel like there would be an initial push for him, a relatively small boost in American fans. But unless he's winning or at least competing consistently, like if he is what Alex Albon is right now, sneaks top 10 at number 9, if stuff's crazy, we're gonna like, oh snap, an American does this, and then we're gonna be like, okay, back to LeBron James. Like, so
Exactly.
I think this is by far the coldest take we've had.
I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
Because
I would agree.
realistically, like you said, okay, if he finishes within the top 10, ESPN probably covers it and goes like, hey, this American in this European sport is performing pretty well. But other than that, he's not going to get any coverage.
I think he gets as much coverage as like Christian Pulisic does for soccer.
Exactly.
Like,
I don't even know who that man is, so that explains how much coverage he's gonna get.
We'll get like a quick coverage of like an update on his career, but it won't be like how ESPN force feeds you LeBron James highlights.
He'll be like that snippet before they go to commercial. It's like, oh, just by the way, this American finished 10th in this last race. All right, when we get back from commercial, we'll talk about LeBron James and how he dunked on this one fool 10 years ago.
I think this is a 2 out of 10 in terms of spice take. So
yeah, I agree.
Just a quick
small
switch.
little sip, but I appreciate the take.
This is from @Laurent Zelos. Gasly will never get to drive in a faster car.
I agree with that take. He doesn't move past AlphaTauri. I don't think he goes back to Red Bull's second seat. And I don't think he moves up to like McLaren or out.
He
No,
is French. He is French. Keep that in mind.
I don't think his French background is enough to convince Alpine be like, all right, Gasly, like we'll take you. Especially the season that he's having this year. So far.
Right, right.
He's not going to Mercedes, he's not going to Red Bull, he's not going to Ferrari. So the only steps he can take is laterally or backwards. So I agree with this take. At the end of this day, I don't. Gasly, this was the year for Gasly to prove to me, and I feel like everyone else in the F1 community, that he had the ability to take that step forward.
Right.
To
He
go
wasn't a
from
fluke.
Red Bull's B team to possibly challenging Perez for Red Bull's second seat and or being good enough to take a seat for one of the premier
The
teams.
top three, right.
But this year, his contract year, he didn't perform. Yeah, he hasn't been performing. I think this is a mid take, a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 kind of take.
I think this is more true than reach.
Yes, exactly.
So I think this is a 3 because do I think he's good enough to get a top 3 drive? No. However, as we've seen with silly seasons in the past, if stuff gets crazy,
teams get desperate.
McLaren doesn't seem that far of a jump.
That is true.
Like, it seems the far jump now because McLaren has signed like basically half of the IndyCar grid, and then also maybe Oscar Piastri. So it might seem like a reach now, but I think that's the farthest he can like realistically shoot for. So I think in terms of spice take, I'm gonna have to agree more than disagree, and it's a 3 out of 10 for me.
I'll officially put it out a 4 out of 10 for me.
At Lawrence Zelos, quick sip.
A mid take, but I appreciate your take.
Red Bull would be the team to beat for the next few years. Alpine or Mercedes are more likely to be challenging them for the championship in the next years rather than Ferrari. And this is from at Joel is chosen.
Okay. You know, the take initially started off pretty cold because I agree. Red Bull, as it stands, is going to be the team to beat. But to say that Alpine or Mercedes versus Ferrari is gonna be like, I think that I'm fixated on the Alpine part. You're saying Alpine is
That's
gonna
a
be
good
challenging.
part to be stuck on, yeah.
That's gonna be challenging for the constructors championship. The team that's currently, I believe, in fourth place.
Yeah,
right?
they're holding fourth down. They're having a fight with McLaren.
with
fourth and
with
fifth.
McLaren, fourth and fifth, is gonna be challenging for first. That adds spice to it, you know? Like that. I believe Mercedes is always going to be in the podium. I believe Ferrari is going to kind of be in the top 4. But Alpine, that adds a level to the spice. So I will give it I'll give it a 7. I like to round up. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 5 or 6.5, but I'll round up. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 kind of take. Just because he said, or they said, Alpine will be competing against Red Bull for the constructors.
So you're going with 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
Because I think you're saying only the second half of the tweet is a reach, correct?
Yeah.
I think the whole tweet is a reach.
Really?
Like as the Red Bull fan that I am, as far as Red Bull goes, I don't think they're going to be the team to beat for the next couple years. Because if you look at it this way, so Red Bull isn't even the fastest car now. They're not. They're really not. If Ferrari had a competent team manager and strategy, Red Bull should not be winning this thing. I promise you that. Because
I agree with that take.
if you look at it, Max has really willed himself to number one. Because if you look at Checo's no slouch. He's P3 or P4 or whatever it is, but he's has some days where he's off and he has some days where he's on, right? And the days that he's on sometimes doesn't even challenge Ferrari. Whereas Max, he challenges Ferrari. So you take Max out the equation, I think Red Bull as a team isn't the team to beat. I think Red Bull will have a top 3 car, but it won't be they're the clear number 1 team to beat, because Ferrari, in my opinion, has the fastest car this year, barring reliability and team strategy. Those 2 things take fat L's. Whereas Red Bull, they have Hannah, their strategist, and excluding the first half of the season, so the first quarter of the season.
Not even, like, literally the first 4 races.
So excluding that, they haven't had huge reliability issues, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think they're the fastest car, but I don't think they're like, punching way above their where they should belong. So I think it'll be a close grid for the next couple of years, because that's what the regs have shown. So I don't think Red Bull would be the cream of the crop. And I especially don't agree with Alpine coming through and, all of a sudden dethroning Ferrari as P3 or P2.
Dethroning McLaren and Ferrari.
Yeah.
To get into the podium to be competing with Mercedes and Red Bull.
I think they're trending the right way. Do I think they make that jump to where they're like, hey, you have to pay attention to us now because we're not fighting for 3rd or 4th. We're fighting for, P1, P2. That's a reach. That extends the reachness of this. So I think this is an 8.5, to be honest.
Okay. See, my counter argument to your point is Max is going to be in that Red Bull car.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
you have I get your point, and I agree with your point. Does Red Bull have the best car on the grid? Yes, in some aspect, but is Ferrari better in others? Yes. 100%. Is the Red Bull car going to be the team to beat? Arguably. But with Max in that car, that's the team to beat.
So what are you giving this tweet then? Scale of 1 to 10.
Like I said, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 simply because they said Alpine is going to be competing with Red Bull.
I think that's a multiplier to the tweet. If they had kept it to just Red Bull going to be the cream of the crop.
Yes. If they kept it to Red Bull going to be the team to beat with Max Verstappen in that car, as a cold mid take, I give it a 4 out of 10. But the fact that they added Alpine to it makes it spicy. So I give it a 7 out of 10.
I think I'm gonna raise it to 9. Adding your points to my argument. I think this is the biggest reach, honestly, thus far. This is the hottest take
because
of the bunch.
Alpine is gonna be competing, or
because Alpine, and the fact that I don't think Red Bull is gonna be the team to beat.
But
to Joel's chosen. Here's a 9 out of 10.
Thank 7 out of 10. We'll split the difference. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. All right. For those of you watching, please let us know what takes you guys are having, and we'll go ahead and share it on our Instagram and our TikTok. But other than that, before we get more drunk, you guys have a good one.
Explain the difference.
Yeah, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport.